So continuing on the story of COVID-19 and all the government stimulus that's happening around the world, trillions of dollars, I want to talk about the way in which it's most likely not going to cause, well, firstly, hyperinflation. I don't think it's going to cause that, but it's not even going to cause that much inflation. And I'm hoping that in this video, I can sort of convince you of that. So we have some sort of line that goes something like this. And this is growth. This is all the goods, all the services, everything goes along this line over time, last 100 years for most Western nations. And then comes a global financial crisis. It dips a bit. It goes back up after a number of years. Obviously, some countries, it's a little bit longer. Some places in the EU, even longer still. But it gets to, let's say, something like this. So it's a little bit underneath. So if I was to draw, for example, a trend line, the trend line might go something like this. But we have an output gap, unfortunately. And that's just the effects of such shocks like this. Now we get to COVID and we get an even steeper decline. And the point is that at some point along this line, most countries now have acted, and they've acted around here, and they started printing lots and lots of money, and obviously all the stimulus. And the idea is, that we have what they call a V-shaped recovery, something like this. This is, in some cases, like 2 weeks. And in some cases, it might be a bit longer. But most governments, unless it's the US government, acted quite fast. The Australian government eventually acted pretty quickly, started shutting things down and enacted stimulus. The idea behind this, behind all the stimulus that's happening around this point, is just that there's a theoretical point, a counterfactual, which goes down to here. And down here, as I said before, might be the Great Depression. And, it might be even longer. But why won't this be inflationary? Why won't these trillions of dollars, and let's say in Australia, I think it's like 800 billion altogether, something to that effect. And why will not this be inflationary? It seems like, it's new money that's been poured into the system. And so, why wouldn't it be inflationary? Well, the thing is, we have this activity up here. The only way we can get inflation is, because remember I said this is activity. Activity and real resource use comes to here. And let's say we're around something like this. When it drops, for inflation to happen, it would have to go above this line. Because the point behind inflation is that we have too much money, or we just have all this money, but we don't have enough goods to actually purchase with the money, so we bid up the price. And so we get a really big increase, or just a general increase in the price level. Price level goes up because we're above this line. But the thing is, the point is that this will more than likely won't get us on the line. We'll be lucky if we do, but it will get us close. So what you have to recognize is that we're on this line and then there's a dip. The point of this dip is that liquidity has also dried up. So money that used to go into businesses, money that used to go into you and I, so businesses, you and I, just the normal people, government, private sector and public sector, money dried up. People started spending less because they were forced to, they weren't allowed to, they started spending less. So that's liquidity, that's gone down, that's money that you had access to. The point is, liquidity is anything that you can get your hands on. That's money. A loan, if you can get a loan fast enough, that's liquidity. If you need to make a bill, if there's a bill comes in today and needs to be paid off today, liquidity is anything which allows you to pay off that bill today. So all this is dried up, so liquidity is dried up. The thing is, businesses, you and I, and government, that also includes the banks. So if the banks suddenly tighten their lending standards and suddenly, maybe jack up their rates or something, your liquidity dries up. So liquidity has dropped down, activity has dropped down. The important thing is all these things have dropped down in tandem. And that's because we forced the economy to come down to this point down here. This point, which as I was mentioning before, we hope is well above this theoretical bottom, which could be the Great Depression or worse. Then and then, this might continue on for a little while, but we hope not. We hope it's pretty sharp. I know, let's say 6 months. That might be optimistic, but let's say 6 months, we can start opening up again and we can start doing things again, more than likely in phases. We're not going to just open up everything. Then we climb back up. More specifically, why does that climb back up happen? Well, the thing is, remember, liquidity dried up for everyone. There's no one that was left out. Now, you might say, rich people are going to be fine and all that, and sure. But rich people are very few. There's very few of them compared to most of us. And they're still losing money on the stock market, for example. That's where the vast majority of rich people have their money. So regardless of your thoughts of rich people and businesses have been forced to close. Businesses are going to open up again. So remember, real resources have gone down, the usage, and now businesses, I know I'm drawing, should be a tick, businesses start opening up and they start using up resources again. But the thing is, in this period, when let's say it does something like this, it goes down and goes up like that. This period, the amount of real resources in the economy has not changed. And their prices really haven't changed all that much, unless it's oil. And that's gone down. However, that's mainly due to Saudi Arabia and Russia having a little fight, and it's gone down to like $10 a barrel. But other than that, real resources have stayed the same. So they're ready to be used. So the point is, on the upswing, as we go up, and we hope it's a sharp recovery, let's be optimistic, as businesses start opening up and start using resources, that's not the only thing that happens. They start paying people. They start paying you and I again. We go back to work. So we go back to work and we start getting money again. We start getting our liquidity. Banks also can start freely lending again and can start restoring liquidity to a lot of other people that depended upon it. And the thing is, hopefully these programs are targeted well. As we get to near the limit, this is a real resource limit. As we get nearer to it, then the constraints will kick in. The constraints will kick in because we have to start paying back those loans. And those loans, except for the ones that have been paid to businesses to then go to you and I, to keep us at home and to give us money, except for those which don't have to pay back, all the other loans have to be paid back. Those loans are going to be paid back off by this activity here. So all this activity is not new activity. It's new compared to the bottom here when the government stepped in with all the stimulus, but it's not new compared to what was happening before the dip. This is not net activity. And the idea is, activity will ramp up, and then it'll start slowing down as we near that line. And as I was saying, it'll slow down because we have to start paying back those loans. That money that we have to start paying back towards the loans is money that will not be available for expansion. That's money that will not be available for spending. And that money cannot be spent, willy-nilly on the resource base, which has stayed the same. Let's imagine that's all the resources. So as we start paying back the loans, the money gets taken away. All this money, we have this glut of money down here. And then we just start minusing. We reach near this point. As I said, there's probably going to be an output gap. It's probably going to be a gap. And it starts paying back the loans to the government and to the central bank. Real resource usage stays the same. The prices are roughly same. I haven't seen them move that much. They're probably not going to move much. And that's less money that can then go into investments. We can't just do any sort of investment we want. And we also can't spend money. We can't spend as much money as we necessarily want. We have to rein that in. And we're going to rein it in around this point, and then hopefully the economy just keeps ticking along. Continues on like it was before. And we're not going to get this overshoot that's going to cause inflation, because the money will not be there. The money will have to pay back those loans. It can't go towards crazy investments that you would never otherwise do. And so that's the sense in which I believe that we're not going to get any sort of inflation uptick, maybe 1 or 2% or something, and certainly no hyperinflation. I think these loans, just the fact that these loans are going to have to be paid back, is a big part of the story. And the other thing, of course, is that I have faith that the stimulus programs are well targeted to the people and obviously by extension to the businesses that needed them the most. and the real resources, they're still there, and their usage will ramp up and then slow down and slow down until we hit some sort of limit with resources, and then everyone's happy and it's a party and all that kind of stuff, and then we get fireworks. And yeah, that's the story of why I do not believe there's going to be inflation regarding the stimulus programs. So thank you for watching. Subscribe, rate and share, all the good stuff. Definitely helps my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.